Here's where we're going to go on the designer panel. Just the panel itself, I don't know how many people have it running, but you may not realize how much stuff is available under the hood. So we're going to go over the buttons that are on the side, and I think I'm going to switch monitors in a moment, but maybe not. We have enable options. Like, there's a couple of different ways to instruct a bot to turn itself on. You can say, hey, go on and just run till I turn you off. You could tell the bot, I don't know if you know this, you can say, just fire on this current bar. I'm expecting something to happen on this current bar. If it does happen on this bar, great, take the trade. If it doesn't happen and manifest on this bar, stand down, and the bot will disable itself. You can also, with the bot, tell it to trade, hey, I like this, we're in a downtrend, I want the trending bot, take 6 trades on the way up and then turn yourself off, or 5 trades. So if you happen to step away, you can let it run for a while without it just overdoing it. We have an eval button in there, and maybe let me switch charts. I'm going to switch monitors so it's a little easier for people. Bear with me. I'm going to right click on a chart and bring up the designer. If you right click, you'll notice that there's a couple of different additions here. SceetoBots attach detach. That is, once you launch SceetoBots show hide. If I launch this SceetoBots, what we call the designer panel, I can attach it to the chart or detach it, which is good because if I detach it, it went to another monitor. I'll bring it back here. I can shut the charts down so we won't be as distracted. We're going to go over these side buttons, how to enable and disable the eval button, which is very cool. The eval is new functionality that we've put in here. How to save and load saved bots. That goes out to a configuration file of XML. So if you want, you can build bots directly in XML. You don't need this interface if you want. The event buttons. These are the event buttons, which are right-click and assignable. You can add BP as book pressure, or an engulfing bars, or sweeps, or something from the tape meter that may be important to you, or something that you linked up elsewhere in Sierra charts. So you have the ability to link any study or any output from any study within Sierra charts back to your bot. So if some of the things you use we don't ship with, and it's in Sierra chart, or if it's a third-party vendor app in Sierra chart, you can link that back to your bot without any programming. So that's pretty cool, and we'll show you how to do that. There's a bunch of configurations in here we're going to go over. We're going to discuss assigning mandatory events. So when you build a bot, you can tell the bot, I want 3 things to happen. Of those 3 things that I want to happen, one of them is mandatory. I'm letting you choose from 5 others for the other 2, like a Chinese menu. Give me any 2 from column A, but definitely I need this 1 from column B. So you can do mandatory or optional signaling with the bot, which is really nice, particularly if things are on the fly and you want to quickly build a bot on the fly because you see something coming up. We have the ability to set minimum signals, and we'll get that into a minute, but that is really like how many events must occur, or signals must occur simultaneously for the bot to take the trade. The quantity, hey, how many, I want 2 contracts, I want 3 contracts. We have a legs component in here that if we have time, we'll get through here. Legs is pretty cool. It's in beta right now, but it'll tell you, hey, this bot should only trade on the leg up or a leg down. And I want the leg to have at least 6 points. So this bot, if it says leg down is engaged, will not engage, even if the rules are met, unless the underlying instrument, like the S&P, is down 6 points. Or a maximum leg, and you can min and max. So that's pretty cool for directional traders. Let's see what else we have we're going to go over. We're going to go over right shoulders. In here in the zone, you can tell the bot, I want to trade right shoulders. If anybody has traded right shoulders, there's a different way. Like you can visualize, oh, that's a right shoulder. But we have to be very specific when we're talking to software. So you have the ability to configure the strength of the right shoulder that you want. what happened at the head or to the left of the head, you know, how many lower lows before you had a head, if you're doing head and shoulders and not just a right shoulder. And then also what order flow you want to concomitantly occur at the right shoulder, like a sweep, which we'll go over today. I see a question. So there's a question about the ability to enable the difference between the small white boxes next to each bot. Yeah, I'll jump ahead. This is actually mandatory. So if I click that, I'm going to clean this up. This bot has 4 events on it. One is a tape meter. It's looking for a move that moves outside, or an up-down tick ratio that moves outside -2 standard deviations for a certain time frame. I have a sweep saying I want a sweep of the order book, and you can see here on the tooltip it's a minimum of 3. The third largest sweep up on the screen, and I want either a yellow or an orange bar. And I'm saying 1. Minimum signals is 1. So this bot, if any of these occur when it's on, it'll take the trade. If you flip this to 2 and you say, I want to sweep, you've made this one bot required. So we went back here and we talked about mandatory or required bots. Checking that off tells the bot, hey, I want to sweep plus any one of these. That's the 2. If I go to 3, I want to sweep in all these. But you can turn things on and off. And this way you can say, I got to have the sweep. Oh, you like that, Ben? Good. I'm glad you like that. It is cool. We're going to talk about the stops and targets and trade management. We have basic stops and targets in here right now. We're going to go through some of the trade management we have here, so you can set your stops and targets. You can set move to break even after a certain amount of ticks, and then offset that. So I want break even plus 2 ticks, or minus 2 ticks, and also a time-based stop. We found with some of these bots that if they're in a trade for 20 minutes and they're not making money, you want to get out. These tend to be shorter trades. If you're a long-term trending trade, I wouldn't use that. If you're looking like from support to resistance on a macro scale, what I would call macro, the daily scale, you may not want a time-based stop, but it might be good just to leave it at 20 minutes. So just get me out at 20 minutes, because if it didn't go by then, why bother? We're going to talk about the levels. This is like a levels panel here. And what's so cool about the levels panel is you can articulate a support or a resistance level and tell the bot, hey bot, you are only allowed to trade within a certain narrow bandwidth around this defined level. And that's pretty nice. Just for fun, before the webinar started, I put on this levels bot. And if you'll see this red band around this level, this is not my level. This is a level I got from Pamela Ludwig at Ludwig Levels. And I've attached this level to the bot. And if I disable it, you'll see it'll go away. I can re-enable it. And what's really cool, if you're a support and resistance trader, you may love it. You may say, oh, looky, looky, it went up. It broke through. This resistance may become support. You can actually just click one button and tell the bot to flip around that this level is no longer resistance. It's now support. I don't know if you saw that. I clicked the button and it flipped green. So as the market evolves on the fly, you can then update your bots and say, oh, you know what? What I wanted didn't pan out, but the next bus is coming into the bus station. Let me grab it. So that's pretty cool. Let me just go through my cheat sheet of what we're going to go into. We talked about levels a little bit, and then spreadsheet studies. Sierra Chart has this really wonderful facility. I don't know if we'll have time to get it today, but they have spreadsheet studies. So what a spreadsheet study is, similar to Excel, you attach a spreadsheet to your chart. Sierra Chart populates that spreadsheet with a bunch of data, all the data on the chart. And then you can go into a spreadsheet. Let me just show you quickly, and we'll get out of the way. I think I have one. I tried to get one staged, but I think I flubbed that. Sierra Charts populates these studies with the data, and then you can go in and make a formula and says, oh, if X crosses over Y, then I have a signal. Or if this high breaches that high, then I have a signal. So you can test things out on the fly. So any questions before we start digging in? Okay. Where's my cheat sheet? The side buttons. Let me hide this so we don't get too distracted by the market. These buttons on the side are fairly universal. I want to turn all my bots on. I want to turn all my bots off. I mean, all my event signals on. We call these event signals here. I want to turn them all off. So you can grab things on the fly. And then also everything BE, I'm leaving. I want to walk away. I click this button. It moves everything. Break even stops for all your bots. So you don't have to worry about them. Flatten and cancel is semi-obvious. Unable to flatten because I don't have a position. But if we had a position, flatten, cancel, kill everything. You know, who knows what's going on? Oh, shoot, there's an economic announcement or something's going on. I want to stand down. From here, you can load our Launchpads, which we'll get into later. You can click a global Launchpad, which popped up on another monitor. And a global Launchpad is a Launchpad that has a view of all bots running across all your charts, across all your chart books in Sierra chart. So you can see things at a glance, like, oh, here are my Aussie dollars. Here's my crude. Here's my gold bots. And then sort of as you like. Oh, here's all my resistance bots and my support bots. I want to tear things on. Which direction the bot is. And then the status, which we'll get into in a moment. And you can turn all the bots on or off at will. And then also what's really cool on here is you have these trade management buttons. If your bot is active and you click one of these buttons, it'll update the bot's stop and target logic. So you have up to 4 that you can configure before you engage the bot, and then just turn them on and off. You can also elect just to go to the chart and manually override everything. So if you need to move a stop up or wonderfully move a target out, you just drag on a chart and you can do that. So you can also hide. The designer panel can get very, very big. We see people want to hide it. So you could just hide, which I did, and now I'll re-expose it. Let me go find that chart. Where's my ES chart? Or it doesn't matter. Move this up here. Hide or right click and then SceetoBots show hide. So pretty much a lot of the stuff is at your fingertips. Now let's start digging into what's going on here. This bot is disabled and you can enable it from here. Not all bots have to be levels bots, but if you want, you can manage your bots. If you don't have too many of them, you can manage them from the designer or from the global Launchpad. They both talk back to each other. So if I go over here to the Launchpad, right-click, Launchpad, oops, came up somewhere else, you'll see that as this became enabled, the status here is E. It's green. If I disable it, the status went to E. If I turn it on here, it goes there, and I can turn it off again. So wherever you are, the thinking is you should be able to get to your bot quickly. We don't want you struggling looking for a bot. Oh, I got to turn that on, I got to turn it off. That's the kind of stress we don't need. So you can also do some really cool things. Like if you go here and you right-click on the Launchpad, you can go to Bindings. And for this bot, the support long bot, you can set hotkeys for enabled or set it to fire on the current bar or disable or any of the other on-off switches, which is kind of nice. I haven't fully tested this. What I was thinking is that this would be pretty cool for a second keyboard. I don't know, I know a few Sierra chart traders, they have these second keyboards on there, and you can get one of those like point of sale keyboards where you have these big function buttons or a Windows 10 monitor, and then click, 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 turn your bots on and off on the keyboard. Might be a little bit easier than grabbing the mouse. So, oops, if I go to N and done, this is where I can crank it up. I say, oh, you know what? I want to take 5 trades. And this bot will trade 5 times, and it will not trade anymore. It will turn itself off after 5 trades. So that's kind of nice too, because in a trend, you may want to run it 3 to 5 times, around resistance. If you're doing like an intraday swing, you might need 1-2 stabs at it. So you could just leave the bot on, and it'll take care of it. I'm going to disable that bot. I'll just leave it on. It's good to leave some bots on. You'll see the behavior of them. And then, I forgot to mention the current bar. This happens a lot. Like if you're an active trader, I will wait frequently to watch for an engulfing bar with some sort of order flow. And that's a very current bar trade. I know a lot of times you'll say, hey, if this thing resolves itself correctly, intra-bar, I want to take it. And as a human trader, you may jump the gun and get in too early on the current bar, or you may miss it. So the idea of this current bar evolves because we wanted to turn it on for the current bar, and if it's a fast market, turn itself off, because you could leave it on and get 2 or 3 trades, which you may not want in a fast market. So current bar, if you're a scalper, is really cool. We'll show you some things like if anybody trades like hammer bars with order flow, those are very quick trades. And you'll see them evolve, but a hammer bar without market context is just a hammer bar. So this current bar stuff will work really well with hammer bars. Any questions before we start jumping into these event buttons? Okay, you can set up a bot. Let's just go to a new one. I'm going to click new. Oh, actually, we didn't get here yet. I want to click eval. This eval button, if I click this, it came up on another chart. This is a very cool tool. I think everybody's familiar with backtesting. Backtesting is very, very flawed. Backtesting in NinjaTrader is a little more robust, I think, than backtesting in Sierra charts. And sometimes you run a backtest that may take, 40 or 80 seconds or 200 seconds, depending on the size of the backtest to run it, and you get a magnificent amount of data. But sometimes you don't need all that. Sometimes you just want a quick and dirty setup, like, am I in the right neighborhood with this configuration, with this bot? So we have built what we call the entry signal analyzer. It's very pedantic. It is not a robust suite of backtesting tools. We are going to be building in the future more artificial intelligence, which we'll get to later, and start parking it back in here. So this is the inception of a platform to start using tools like Python to do artificial intelligence for these bots, to give them more intelligence. And what this is telling me here is that for this particular bot, if you go back between the last 10 days, there were 306 signals, had a net profit of, that's insane, 5610. I think there might be something wrong with that. There's no way it would have, it might have, I don't know. 20 by 20, but the target is 20 by 20. Your win-loss rate is 53% with a profit factor of 1.2. And then this is just a scan of the distribution of the trades as they went through. Now there's a couple of caveats here. I'm going to click navigation. Look, you can zoom in. And then what we're building in here is if you click on one of these, it's still beta. It should, and it's not working so good. What we're going to be building in here, or we're working to get right, is that if you click on one of these, it'll then reorient the chart directly to where that trade occurred, so you can start eyeballing the trades. And the goal here, the initial goal of this, is not so much to be a robust backtesting tool, but just to tell you, hey, if I left this bot alone, I can't get into too much trouble. So hopefully your street sense and screen time as a trader can say, oh, I only want to turn this bot off when I have this kind of market context, this time of day. I want to turn it off right at the open, and those things. And that should theoretically bump up this 53% win-loss rate to something a little bit higher. I think this is a little funky because this one is looking at the levels, so it's not taking everything into account, but we'll show you some other if we have time. And one distinction between the Sierra chart, backtesting, and this puppy is that Sierra chart is very good about being conservative with the fills. it will look as you run a back test to say, hey, was there enough lot size? Were people getting filled at that price point? And if not, Zero Chart won't fill you. And when you look on your back testing report, you're going to have some awareness of that. Currently, the entry signal analyzer assumes perfect fills. So I wouldn't, live or breathe by these numbers, but they're close. Like if you run ATBB and you go back, you'll get a feel for it, and you say, "Oh, this is just a quick tool to say that bot's stupid. I don't like that configuration," and it'll grow from there. So if you have suggestions on what you want to see built into this, let me know. Okay, we have a background button under the hood on the SceetoBots study. You can change or assign different background colors. You'll see down here it's switched to gray. I don't think I have a lot of backgrounds set up here. We're not nice looking ones, but this way, like, oh, I want all my long bots to be one color or a particular market. So you can color code your panel here for quick reference. Go back here to one. And now we have buttons here. These are basically where you're going to build your bots, save your bots. If I click the plus, I release my finger, I can get a new long bot, a new short bot, or just clone my existing bot because I'm halfway there with this bot. So I click clone, and you'll see we've got two of the same bots. If I go click boom, new long, I have a blank one, and it says long up here. If I like a particular bot, let's just create a bot right now. Let's go, I want to pivot low, and I'm going to go probably a little too quickly on this. I want to pivot low, and I'm going to make that mandatory, and I want to sweep, and I'm going to configure this puppy very quickly. A sweep of at least, let's see, what are we running, gold? What would that be? A sweep of 200 to the long side on gold. Click OK. And gosh, give me something from tape meter. I want a -2 SD, which is wonderful, or an engulfing bar. And I set this to 2. What I've got here is I'm going to wait for a pivot low. This pivot low is going to look over here to pivot strength. It should have a strength of 5 is a pretty good number. That means the bars to the left. I don't want to spend too much time on the pivot strength. This is documented in the user guide. But it's saying once I have a pivot low, the next pivot low, and any one of these threes, take the trade. I want 10. I want 18. What do we got? Gold at 10. Maybe a 20 by 12 with a break even of 8. And I want to save this bot. So I go here to C, and I go save. And these are some other bots that I've got running. Just click new, and a little pop-up window comes. So I could save this, and it's going to be pivot with, I'll just write order flow. Long. And now that bot is available to be picked up later and put on another chart or on this chart, and it'll automatically be updated and put here on, whoops, on the Launchpad. And I can enable it here. If I'd like, you'll see it enabled. Very, very easy. Let's go through some of the options, though, here on these event panels. If you want to take something off, right-click, go to None. If you want to add, you can add some Bollinger Bands. We put Bollinger Bands out of the gate because I trade a lot of Bollinger Bands. I want to see something bounce off of a Bollinger Band. I want a bar duration. I'm looking for either a fast bar or a slow bar. We have engulfing bars. Say, hey, I'm looking for engulfing bars. Over here, I want that. And we have two definitions of engulfing bars. Engulfing bar where the body of the current bar engulfs the body of the prior bar, or what we call engulfing loose, which is where the body of the current bar, the close doesn't have to engulf the prior bar as long as it's even with, or it's actually, yeah, even with, you're fine. Hammers. I don't know if anybody here trade hammers or candlestick patterns? Sierra chart has an indicator that will define and find candlestick patterns for you. So there is a way to link back candlestick patterns from Sierra charts and then throw order flow on top of it and just deploy a bot that way, which is pretty cool. I don't know if you're familiar with that. You'd go to right click, studies, add a study, and I think it's C, right? Candlestick pattern finder. And in here, you can define hammer, hanging man, bullish engulfing, dark cloud cover, blah, 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 blah. All of this stuff. I don't know what 3 white soldiers are, but that sounds a little scary to some people I might know. Let's see, a bullish doji. You can assign that, and then through the spreadsheet study, link it back to your bot, and then on top of the bullish doji star, you could tell it, I want any of these order flow events. And then also, I want it to happen at this level. Click, click, click. All deployable. So I'm going to remove that and cancel. We have pivots high, pivots lows. If you're a right shoulder trader like I am, you can just assign a right shoulder. And as we said before, you make it mandatory. In here, when you have a right shoulder, is where you would configure. RS stands for right shoulder left strength and right shoulder left pivots. So the left pivots of the right shoulder would be for a long. Let's find an easy one to view. Let me get. Here's a low. Here's your first higher low. Low, lower low. If we're counting a left strength of 5, this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That meets it. Here, this pivot only has a left strength of 1, so it doesn't meet it, but this one has 5. And then this one doesn't. And then this one doesn't. So we have one lower low before we have our higher low. If you set that here to left strength pivots, that'll catch that one with a left strength of 5. We also have sweeps, tape meter, volume. If you want to trade what we call zigzag volatility, we added a new indicator here called zigzag volatility. Is very important. RE is range expansion up, RE down, range expansion down. And what this tells you is that you'll see these REs here. These are range expansions. And we've built our own range expansion tool, which is available in SceetoBots. It's studies, and if you go into ZZ volatility, you'll see here expansion. And the thinking is that if you're scalping and you're doing reversion to the mean scalps, so it's a quiet market, it's lunch, gold's in a tight range, but gold goes outside the Bollinger on a hammer with some order flow, I want to take that because I think it's going to revert back to the mean. I'm going to get 3 to 6 ticks very quickly. However, if you're scalping mean reversion and you have a range expansion, all bets are off. We may no longer be in a quiet market, and we want to know that instantaneously. And that's what this RE will tell you. However, you can trade REs if you'd like to say, oh, I want it. They're very good when they line up with order flow. So that's also out of the box. You would just do assign range expansion up. We also have color coding for the bars now. So you can say, oh, I want to trade oranges, blues. I want to trade yellows. We will go deeper into these algorithms next week. There's a lot to them. We won't get through them all today. So what we're going to do is just a separate next week, so you'll get your handle on, oh, that's what they're looking for in these algorithms, the yellow and the orange and the sweep. But today, let's get our head around just the mechanics of assigning things. Once you assign these bots, there's a couple different ways. Some of them need to be configured a little bit more than others. For instance, if I go to sweep, if I look down here, you'll see it says configure. I can configure my sweep. There's a bunch of options for sweep. We may just do a full episode or a full webinar on sweep. We'll have to see how time goes. Maybe the next 2 weeks we'll do the order flow algorithms, because there's a lot of good stuff in here. The first option is a subgraph. If you want to, you can associate this sweep with a particular subgraph or what SEER charts called subgraphs, and that's the ability to plot. So you can say, oh, subgraph 37, which then you could tell the software, plot 37, it'll go on the chart. So this is really if you want an extra visual cue. Using the close of the bar, sweep and book pressure are intra-bar metrics. So you can opt to enter intra-bar. Book pressure, sweep. There are times and places where you can get a head start on that, or your bot can get a head start on that by using an intra-bar setting. Most of the time, I'm using the close of the bar. I set this to yes. However, there are times and places when that intra-bar sweep should be fired early. And we'll discover a lot of that together. I don't know all the nuances of it yet. I have tinkered with it. I'm very excited about it, but we've gone through a huge development effort, and I haven't gotten a chance to really actively trade with intra-bar sweeps. Though I have some experience with it, and we should probably just do one workshop on intra-bar to carve out screen time on that. Price dependent means that you want congruence in the price. Not only do I want to sweep up, where the order book got swept out to the downside and then upside, we then want price to move up and close. So that's pretty cool. And we could have a supply or a demand sweep, and then the type of sweep calibration. Do we want the sweep in context of the screen, sweep in context of a zigzag leg, or the sweep in context of a threshold? And there's a lot of nuances in here that's very cool, so we'll hold off on that. Some of the other bots have configurations, like if I put book pressure. I want extended book pressure up, and I need to configure that. I'm going to put a threshold number in there. That's this down here. So if I'm coming into a pivot low and I get a 200 reading here, I think that might be pretty good. I want the bot to take that. We also have in here set negative. Set negative is a cool concept. We have been doing a lot of work in Python in terms of like crunching numbers and crunching data. And what we have found is not only that there is efficacy in knowing what events are occurring, we have found that there are certain events that we don't want to happen. And if things happen, they screw up your setup. So we set in here the ability to say, not only do I want this to happen, but this thing better not happen. If I have a zigzag range extension, then don't take it. So there's all sorts of nuances in there. Most importantly, the one thing I've been holding back and I meant to mention is these triangles, the up and down triangles. So what happens if you see a sequence of things like, let's cheat a little and find something we call a beat. A beat is where the market may move up. You got orange, maybe it's going to go up, and then immediately goes to yellow. The yellow beats the orange. That's pretty cool, right? And then it went down, and then it came down this level. You have the yellow and the orange, then the orange beat the yellow right next to each other. Doesn't always work. Here's a beat that went up, and then you probably got stopped out on it. But in the right place at the right time, if you're watching these things, this is where the street sense and screen time comes in, where you say, oh shit, if that beats, I want it. So it's very easy to configure a beat. I'm going to go click, new long, right click, yellow. We want a yellow and we want an orange. I'm going to enable both of these. But the yellow, I want it 1 bar ago. And I'm going to go 2 signals. I want both of these. So I want the sequence of a yellow bar and then an orange bar. That comes in pretty handy for something like that. It also comes in very handy if you're a Bollinger trader, because if you pierce through a Bollinger Band and you want to buy, you may be a little early. But if you articulate that I want the lower Bollinger Band to have been pierced 3 bars ago, then we have this sequence where like, oh, we hit a lower Bollinger, but that was like 3 bars ago. Then the last bar, we had yellow, which implied asymmetry in the order book to the sell side. All the way down here, that could be conclusionary selling. And now we have confirmation with the orange, I want to take it. So I would change these to 3. I go here, save, new. I probably have beats on this machine already. You see I have the beats long and short already here. But I'm going to make this, I'm going to call this beat by Bollinger Band long. I click and save. I've got it. Boom. It's in here, and then I can apply it to other markets. I can quickly grab it. Oh, I want to throw that on ES. I want to throw that on the Aussie. I want to throw it on the pound. I want to throw it on crude. How are we doing on time? I'm sorry, we're running a little slow. Any questions? Because we may run a little long. I do have to skedaddle shortly, but I want to make sure that if you have it running on your machine and there's something a little that you don't fully understand, let me know. Look at my cheat sheet here, where to go. We are going to now start to make our way down the panel. I think you see you can turn all on and off. We talked about required. We talked about setting negative. We talked about bars to go. We talked about saving and loading. We went over briefly on legs. We went over the right strength. Hammers. If I assign a hammer bar here, I want to trade hammer down. Actually, let me kill this. I'm going to create a new one. This is a cool one. If I create a hammer down and I want the tape meter a 1 standard deviation tick ratio and 2, I can define the hammer body size here. If it's a larger bar, like a 10 tick, you may want a 3 or even a 4 on gold in terms of a hammer. You'll see that here. And that's where you'll define that. Here's your stops and targets. You can predefine them and then update them on the fly in the Launchpad. You can set your limit offset. Where do I want the bot to get in? Do I want to get the bot even with the close of the bar, the close of the signal bar? Do I want to pay up 1 tick? Do I want to pay down 1 tick? You can calibrate that here. -1 means that if the bar closes here and the new bar and a range bar is going to open them 1 up, I'm going to pay that 1 up. And depending on the size of the bar you trade, the thickness of the market, the volatility of the time of day, you may want to calibrate that. But I leave it at -1. I always pay up. Move to break even and time-based stops. I want to spend a moment on the levels, of how to configure levels, because this is the lazy man's dream. If you'll notice down here, you've got check boxes. You've got a price column, a reference column, and a name column. And you've got 3 green and 3 red. So you have, out of the box, 3 support levels that you can define and 3 resistance levels. And they're kind of offset a little bit in the coloring, so it's easier on the eye. I can go down here and say, oh, I like 78. And you can click 1, 2, 78, hit the tab button, and then enable that level. You can also enable the other level. So you can have multiple levels for your bots to trade. You can also grab an indicator. If you see here, it says ID1SG2. I'm going to right-click on the chart and show you what that means. And if you're familiar with SEER charts, it may be a little more obvious. If you're not familiar with SEER charts, it could be a little kooky. But if you look here, it says Ludwig levels V4, ID1. I'm going to double-click on that. And here it says subgraphs. Subgraph 1 is... Oops, we don't want subgraph. We want subgraph 2. The blue is your primary down, your primary support, and then subgraph 3 is your primary resistance. So the syntax, if you want to grab something, and let's just put VWAP on here because I trade VWAP. Does anybody trade VWAP? I'll show you can put a bot on VWAP. Add VWAP, and you'll see it's ID9. I'm going to double click it. VWAP is SG1. And I'm going to hit ignore so we don't see too many, the upper and lower boundaries. Mira. Here's VWAP. You see it went down, it broke through, came back to VWAP. We had a range extension back at VWAP. VWAP is ID9 SG1. So if I wanted to trade VWAP, I can go down here, ID9, and it has to be caps, space, or dot, cap SG1. Boom. And you'll see it's tagging VWAP. I think we may have, looks like we might have offset on there, or it's reading it. Oh, no, we're not at the end of the chart. There you go. It's tagging VWAP. And the name, currently it doesn't pick up the VWAP name. You might have to type it so you remember. So VWAP, and then this would be Ludwig level. As you type in the support and resistance, it'll propagate across all the bots that you build. So the levels for this chart, you don't have to set a level per bot. It's a level per chart. Neat, huh? Let us spend a little time on the Launchpad because we've only got a couple of minutes. There's 2 Launchpads because this is designers. I have some charts like these gold scalping things where I literally have 20 bots on a chart, and it's insane. Like, you can't manage this. You see how they just scroll across? So let's just hide it, and there's 2 different Launchpads. One is the global Launchpad, which I think we showed you. I got to turn everything off. I'm leaving. We don't have the ability to turn everything on. Or we have the local Launchpad. In the local Launchpad, there's a couple of features I want to show you. Where did it come up? Up here. Now, let me show these. Let me kill some of these that I made. That's crazy. Let's hide this. Let's get this out of here. If you right-click on your local Launchpad, Lucas has a question. What if you actually want the bot to trade pivots, VWAP, and other levels on another bot? Could you separate the levels for each bot? This is what I would recommend. That's a great question. I think we can. Let me be sure, Lucas, I get your question right. Let's go back to here. And let's clone this one. Let me know if I have this scenario right. Right now we have 3 different levels on this. We could say I want VWAP trading this support long configuration. We want this pivot with order flow trading the Ludwig level, which is probably, oh, not enabled, here. And then I want, let's see, I want to load my beat long bot, and I want it to trade just the manual level that I'm monitoring, and I'll enable that. So you can do it that way. Lucas, does that answer your question? Okay, yes. Let's say you have 3 levels, though for bot 1 and 3, the levels for bot 2, you have 3 levels. Though for bot 1 and 3 are different levels, and bot 2 is that possible? Currently maxed out at 3 levels per chart. It is. We had 5. So you probably have to currently put it across to more charts. We had more levels in there, Lucas, and we took them out because this was just getting too tall, and people on laptop screens, it was just too cumbersome. We just needed the height. We can consider putting them back in here. And I don't know if it's working, but you might be able to then like assign this to a level. I think you could probably assign this as a level. Well, let's do it. Let's cheat a little. I'm going to go 1, 2, 7, 4. And then I'm going to go here and flip it. So you can kind of cheat. You can force them. I haven't traded this where you flip over. You'd want to make sure it's tested right. So you might want to. But yeah, I don't know if you're in the beginning, Lucas, but you have the support becomes resistance. So you can then cannibalize some of your support, your resistance bots, and make them support bots. And I hope that answers your question. If not, let me know the nuance, and we'll try to get through that. Okay, great. There's some really cool stuff in here that I want to show you in the Launchpad, which is really magnificent. if you right-click, and this is on the local Launchpad, you can actually click Add. So you could put bots up through here, visible or invisible. If I click visible, when I load the bot on here, it'll come over here. If I don't want to add it to the designer panel, it really should say visible on the designer panel. I'm going to leave it invisible. But you can grab a bot here, and let's put a beat short on, and it'll load up here. Now you have your beat short, so you can grab things from here. You can also edit a bot. If you're like, oh, I like that bot, but I want to change something on it, you can then edit that bot. It came up on another screen. Let me bring it over. And it launches the designer panel. So if you want to either change it on the fly, oh, I need to change whatever it is you want to change. I'm going to add the BB lower, all on, click save and close. I don't want to click save and close because that's a good bot, but you can then amend it on the fly. So there's a lot of different ways to quickly grab and tee things up. What I have found for me is I like my beat bots and my level bots, and then I will throw some engulfings on and off with order flow. And with the levels bots, I can then monitor many more markets simultaneously. So that's pretty cool. So we have run over, I don't think we've gotten through everything, but we've given a flavor of people who say, oh, at least I know where you can start and start making your bots and then ask the right questions, because until you know what's in there, you can't articulate the questions correctly. We didn't get a chance to go into the XML configuration or the study or the log files, and I would be remiss if I didn't quickly show you that, because if you go in here, ta-da! In Sierra Charts, everything nests in the data folder, and we've parked another SceetoBots folder in there. And in there, we set log files. Every day a new log file will be created. I'm just redoing this machine today, so it only has one log file. But we'll be building daily log files, so if you have an issue, we can go into your log file and then grab some information to see what it is, send that to tech support. And we also have a SceetoBots config file that's very clean. Let me open this up. Let me bring this over. You can go in, and then if you're so inclined, you can copy, paste, and update bots very quickly once you know the syntax. The reason this is here is the tools for artificial intelligence are becoming better and smarter. The libraries available off the shelf for artificial intelligence are maturing at a rate that is phenomenal. We have integrated, I don't know if you have any programmers or people involved in artificial intelligence or going in that direction, but we're putting more and more energies into that to say, hey, why don't we take this wonderful data, put it in a crunching database, something like Python, take some artificial intelligence libraries off the shelf that are available, plunk them in Python, crunch the data, find out, let the data tell us what is the smart thing to build as opposed to us eyeballing it. So we're very good at eyeballing bot setups, but hey, wouldn't it be great if we could crunch data and then take that information out and then start parking it back from Python to XML and then build the bots this way. And then we're going to be automating this more and more. So we'll have more seamless integration back to Python. If anybody wants to talk to me directly about AI and what's happening, and we think in the next generation of this stuff, just shoot me a note like on the help desk ticket, and we'll set up a time to talk, because once the dust settles on the SceetoBots, we're going to be spending more and more time on that. We have a couple of improvements I think we mentioned yesterday that we think are important. Once the dust settles on this, the next generation or the next iteration, we're going to be focusing quite a bit on allowing the bots to take into account order flow that occurred after the trade started and then update their trade management rules accordingly. We think that's some of the lowest hanging fruit that we haven't had a chance to get to yet. And just to give you a for instance, you send a bot out, it buys the low, it buys the right shoulder, you don't want to buy the low. Yay, you're in. It bought the right shoulder. Oh, so beautiful, it's so perfect. You look, you've got to stop at a target of 10 by 10 or whatever it is, 20 by 20. And then all of a sudden a bunch of selling comes in. The bot should respond to that selling after the fact and tighten that stop. Or flip side of that coin, You got in at this beautiful location. You have a very tight stop, and a ton of buying came in right behind you, and your position's screaming. The bot should know that in real time, and you as a trader shouldn't have to fumble. Oh, I turned my head. I need to move my target out. So that's some of the things that we're going to be developing next. So I think I've said more than a mouthful. If you don't have a trial of this shizzle, I recommend get a free trial. We set it up so people don't even need like a credit card. I'm going to try again to give you these links. Let's see. Here they are. Okay, sent to all. All right, so I think in the questions are a bunch of links. Most importantly is how to get it set up on your machine. There's some templates. I've been moving stuff around. The user guide. And then if you have any questions, we had some turnover, so our support queue was a little cranky, rusty, but things are getting more normalized now. So I apologize if anybody got stuck on a ticket. Here's our support desk, or just go to Sceeto.com. If you need help, go to support and create a support request. And then we'll try to get back to you as quickly as possible. We've run over. I apologize for running over. We're going to have another webinar next Thursday, likely at 11. Does anybody care if we do it 11 Eastern as opposed to 12 Eastern? No, Carl, it's fine with me. All right, we'll make it 11 then, or try to make it 11. And we're going to go over sweep, the market the concept of associating the value of the sweep of the order book with the current leg. Very, very important concept. We'll go over book pressure more in detail and what it looks like intra-bar to say, oh, when is that puppy important? If that puppy is important and it's coming up, I want a bot ready and staged to go at it. Or, you know what, this is, you know, we're in the middle of a trend. I'm not going to look at the intra-bar book pressure so much. We're going to talk about the order flow congruence bars. When are they important? What their color coding is, why they're important, and at what trade locations. And then we'll get into probably some beats and right shoulders. That's a lot to swallow in an hour next week. Maybe we'll get to that next week. I would like that better. But I want to say thank you for everybody who's been with Sceeto. This is the next generation. We're really excited about it. I hope you get a free trial. And if you have any questions, just give me a shout. You guys have a wonderful day. Oh, Lucas, where do you find the link for the next webinar? I haven't had it out. I haven't put it up yet. It'll be on a blog article, and we'll also do an email campaign. Hopefully I can get to it today. It'll be a registration link. But it will always be a blog article on the website, and you're on the list, so you should get it. So wonderful. Everybody, I appreciate your time. I know time is valuable. And I hope you learned something and thought it was cool. Everybody have a great day.